Today, you will learn how to make a digital painting of anyone in Photoshop. And I'm going to be real with you, this takes some time and work, but it's relatively easy once you grasp the concept, which is why in this video, I'll explain the process step by step so that you can create your own awesome digital paintings. So make sure to pay attention and let's hop straight into Photoshop. Okay, so I have this image of Beyonce here, and the first thing we are going to do is to create a duplicate of the image. So click Ctrl plus J and then click Ctrl plus T, and let's resize the copy and put it at the top of the image for reference purposes. Alright, now let's turn off that layer. Now the next thing we are going to do is to create the lines for our digital painting. So select the main layer and come down to your new layer icon and create a new layer. Now we are going to create the lines. So zoom in, and first let's go with the nose. Come to your tools and select the pen tool. Now come to the image and start creating your lines. So I'm going to create the first lines along her nose. Now, after creating your lines, right click and then click fill path. Now make sure the content is set to black if it's not, and then click OK. Now it's going to fill that part with a black solid color. Now right click and then click delete path. Now let's create another line on the other side of her nose. Right click, click fill path and then click OK. Right click and click delete path. Let's create one for the inside of her nose. Now I'm going to use the same process to create all of the lines we need for this image. So watch as I create the lines and learn along. Let's go. Now let's make 2 dots in her eyes. So select the brush tool and make sure the flow is at 100, opacity at 100, and make sure it's a hard brush. You can increase the size of the brush with the right square bracket key. And then click to make your dots. So let's make one here, one here. Now let's zoom out. Let's turn off the image layer. Now you can see we've beautifully created the lines along her face. The next thing we are going to do is to draw the hair. So to do that, let's create a new layer on top of the lines layer. And let's name the layers for now. So double click on the layer with the lines and then let's name it lines. Now let's name this new layer hair. Click enter. Alright, now let's trace the hair with the pen tool just as we did for the lines. So select the pen tool and then let's start tracing the hair as well. Click Z and then zoom in and then let's begin. Now for the hair, right click and then select fill path, but change the content from black to color. And then let's sample a color from her hair. So drag the sample here and then sample a random color from her hair. So I'm going to sample this particular color and then click OK. Now right click and click delete path. Very good. So this is what we've done so far. Now let's create a few lines for her clothes as well. So come back to your lines layer and then let's trace her clothes as well. Now let's paint the dress she's wearing. So select your image and then create a new layer below the lines layer. Let's name it clothes. Click enter. Now let's sample this color and use it to paint her dress. So double click on the foreground color and then bring your color picker and then click on it to select the color of her dress. Now click OK. Now let's turn off the image layer and then select your brush tool. Let's zoom in and then paint below the lines. Make sure it doesn't go over the border of the line. Very good. Let's go. Now let's add some color to her skin. So to be able to change the color later on if we want to, come down to your new adjustment layer icon and create a solid color. Now let's select a skin tone we like. So this skin tone looks very good and then just click OK. Now select the mask of the solid color and click Ctrl I to invert it. Let's name it skin. Now select the mask of the skin layer and then with the brush tool selected, change the foreground color to white and then let's paint along the skin areas. Now let's add some color to her eyes. So create a new layer on top of the skin layer and then let's name this layer eyes. Click enter and then change the foreground color to white and then let's zoom in to her eyes. select the brush and then reduce the size to a preferable size, and let's paint white at the portion where her eyeball is going to be. Now let's change the foreground color to sort of this reddish pink color, and then let's use that color for this side of her eyes. Now let's sample the color of her eyes. So let's double click on the foreground color and then sample the color of her eyes. Click OK. Now let's turn this off and then select the brush tool again, and then let's paint the eyes. Now let's create a sort of white highlight that you see on her eyes. So select the white color, reduce the brush size, and then just make one click on the eyes. Very good. Let's make one on the other eye as well. Awesome. Now select the eye color again, which is the brown one, and then let's make it a bit brighter. So increase the brightness so this color is okay. And then select the pen tool. You can also click P on your keyboard to select the pen tool. And then let's just create some sort of design to make the eye look more realistic. Now right click and then fill the path. Let's change it to foreground color and then click OK. Now right click and delete. Let's do the same thing for the other eye as well. Now let's create a new layer for the lips as well. I'm going to name it lips. Now let me show you a simple trick to show only the layer with the image. So just hold Alt and then click on the eye icon beside the layer with the image to show only that layer. Now let's change our foreground color to the color of her lips. So double click on the foreground color and then let's just sample the lips color. But I want it to be a bit brighter, so let's increase the brightness. So I'm going to use this color for her lips and then just click OK. Now hold Alt and then click on the eye beside the image again to make all the other layers appear except that one. Okay, now let's select the brush tool and then paint her lip color as well. Okay, now let's work on the hair to make it look much more realistic. So come to the layer with the image and then holding Alt, click on the eye next to it, so that only that layer shows. Now come up to image, down to adjustment, and then down to posterize. Now you can set the level to a level that fits your preference if you know what you are doing. But if you are learning like myself, just keep it at the default value of 4 and click OK. Now select the layer with the hair and then let's make it reappear. Now change the foreground color to the color of her hair and then click OK. Now create a new layer on top of the hair layer, and with our layer selected, let's turn off the hair layer. Now what we are going to do is we are going to trace the darker portions in her hair. So we are going to trace the different layers of darkness. So you can see this color is different from this. You realize we have sort of a green in here, sort of brown, sort of black. So we are going to trace those colors and then either darken or lighten the original color we use for the hair, and that's what is going to bring the realism out of the hair. So let's first darken the color of the hair. So let's make it much darker and then click OK. Now let's trace the very dark portion in the hair, which is this black portions you can see over here. Select the pen tool and then start tracing. Now let's fill this part for now so that we can see what we have done so far. So let's just fill that part. Now let's turn on the layer with the hair and then see what we've done. Yes, the image is coming just as we want it. Let's continue. Now I think the black spots we filled up is enough, so let's turn on the hair layer. Now holding Alt or Option, click in between the layer we just worked on and the hair layer to clip it to only the hair layer. Very good. Now as you can see, the hair is beginning to look better, but before we continue, let's work on her lips. So come to the layer with the lips and then change the foreground color to that, the color of her lips. So let's sample it and click OK. Now create a new layer on top of the layer with the lips. And then let's turn on the layer with our image. So hold Alt and click on the eye. Now this portion you see over here is going to be dark. So let's select the lips layer and then make it a bit darker. So let's drag it down. This color is okay and then click OK. Now let's trace the dark portions. Now let's turn on the layer with the lips and then holding Alt, click in between them to clip it to only the lips. Now let's create a new layer and then let's change the foreground color to the original lips color. So this is the original lips color and then just click OK. Now let's turn the lips layers off. And as you can see here, there is a brighter portion on the lips. So we are going to trace along that and we can also see it over here. So before we do that, let's change the lips color to a brighter color. So this color is fine and then click OK. Now let's trace. I'm going to add one last color to it, so let's go, which is going to be a little bit lighter shade of this color. Now that will be it for the lips. Very good. Now let's work on the skin layer. For this one, we are going to use a different approach for it. So instead of creating a new layer, come to your new adjustment layer icon and select solid color. Let's change it to a very dark tone and then click OK. Now let's make only the layer with the image appear. I'm going to use this dark tone to paint the very dark portions on her skin. So select the mask of the solid color we just created and then let's start tracing the path with the dark portions. Let's go. Now we can adjust the color a little bit since this is too dark, so let's make it a bit brighter. Alright, this color is very okay. Then click OK. Okay, now let's continue working on the hair that we did not complete before. So let's turn off all the other layers except for the hair layer. Now let's create a new layer and then let's change the foreground color to a color that is lighter than this color. So let's sample it and then let's choose a brighter color. This is okay. And then click OK. Now let's clip it by holding Alt and then clip it to the hair layer. Very good. Now let's start creating the path. Now, as you can see, the hair looks beautiful. The hair looks perfect. Now, let's just give her some simple earrings. So, let's create a new layer. Select the brush tool and make sure the foreground color is white. And then let's just create 2 dots on her ears. So, 1 dot here and 1 here. Yes, that looks very, very beautiful. And there you have it, a beautiful digital painting of Beyonce, and this is just spectacular. Thanks for watching the video. I'm sure you've learned something today, so don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more awesome tutorials from me. Never ever ever stop creating, and I'll see you in my next video.